Hello everyone, I'm Pastor Robert Sain. It's good to be with you again today. I was thinking the other day about getting prepared. There's lots of things that we have to prepare for in life. One of the things that I have to do, and I've been doing for over 40 years now, is preparing for worship every week. The biggest preparation is obviously preparing a sermon. I've had a recurring dream over the years. It's a crazy dream, and there's really never been any truth to the dream, but I think it's one of those dreams that I've had that has motivated me to make sure that I've got my act together. And the dream goes like this. I'm standing up in the pulpit, ready to give my sermon, but I'm not prepared. I don't have anything to say. And I look out over the congregation and I say, folks, if you'll just give me 10 minutes, I can have all this together and we'll move forward with the sermon. And as I'm getting my preparations finalized and I'm finally ready, I look up and the last person has just left the building. So that dream, I believe, is something that I dream in order to motivate me to make sure that I am prepared every week for worship. Jesus spoke to his disciples about preparation. It occurs in the 25th chapter of Matthew. It's a section of Matthew's gospel where Jesus has already entered into the holy city of Jerusalem on Palm Sunday. He's already been into the temple several times. And so it's when he's coming out of the temple, his disciples ask him about the grandeur of the building. And the implication is that this building isn't what our faith is all about. And so Jesus goes on to share with his disciples a series of stories and parables about what's going to happen. Now, first of all, this story has three different layers to it. The first layer being what's going on between Jesus and the disciples. They're increasing fear as they are watching the religious authorities close in on Jesus, and they're perhaps wondering what's about to happen to them. The second layer is the early Christian church. By the time the gospel writer Matthew puts these stories together as a gospel on paper, it's toward the end of the first century. Jesus has not returned as he had promised, and there is increasing pressure from the Roman authorities on this fledgling early Christian community. The third layer has to do with you and me, us, and about how we deal with life in the midst of a lot of things that happen all around us that make life scary and worrisome. One of the first things to note in the parable of the 10 bridesmaids. So the bridesmaids were waiting for the bridegroom to come. 5 of the bridesmaids actually filled their lamps with oil. 5 of the bridesmaids did not. They all went to sleep, and in the middle of the night, when the bridegroom did come, the bridesmaids who had not filled their lamps realized that they weren't ready, and they went begging to the other bridesmaids, trying to get them to share their oil. There's an interesting thing about the parable. In most instances, when Jesus uses parables to talk about the kingdom of God or the kingdom of heaven, he says the kingdom of heaven is like a farmer who went out to plant seeds. But this parable is different. Jesus says the kingdom of heaven will be like. But the big issue is, but what do we do now? What are we concerned with in this in-between time as we wait? Think about the way I spend so much of my time. There's a lot of things that are going on in the world that can consume our time, whether it's hobbies or whether it's television or politics or just work, family. And not only that, what are we doing in terms of how we respond to what God has already promised us, what God is doing, has done for us through Jesus? This past week during our Bible study, Judy Townsend brought up the fact that, when we think about preparations, we don't have to look any farther than what's going on in the world right now with the pandemic. How has this pandemic changed the way that we prepare our life every day? A lot of us wear masks, not only to protect ourselves, but to protect others. We obviously have to be cautious about where we are and who we're with and what we do. So there are lots of preparations that go into our daily existence now. A second thing was brought up in the Bible study by Georgiana Kicklighter, who is one of our summer residents. She made the comment in our Bible study about hurricanes and storms, tropical storms. We just had quite a storm that came through here just a little over a week ago, when we had wind gusts over 50 miles an hour. And many of you remember Hugo from years back. But if you're living in a coastal area, most people in those parts take the storm seriously. And they don't wait around to see what's going to happen. They go ahead and get their generators ready to go. They board up their windows. And frankly, if it looks like it's going to be bad, they seek shelter somewhere other than home. So today, as we hear this parable where Jesus is encouraging his disciples, I think, to think about their preparations. The preparations of what they can be doing now to be prepared for God's reign that has come but will come in its fulfillment at some point in the future. What are we doing? Are we focused only on ourselves and our own needs? Or are we responding to this great love of Christ, who has emptied himself of everything for us? In what ways are we emptying ourselves for others? I don't want us to go off on a tangent thinking that this is some type of a work that we have to do in order to earn God's love and God's grace. But instead, I'd like for us to think about how we can grow in our own faith journey by thinking about other people and by serving the needs of other people in the same way that Jesus served us. Again, as is the case with most of my sermons and videos, I don't leave you with an answer, but I leave you with a question. What kind of preparations are you making? For the kingdom of heaven is coming and will come. Hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.